There is a force that shapes who we become, far deeper than blood or biology. It's the presence or the absence of a father. Today, we're going to uncover the truth about the father factor, the silent power that builds identities, breaks cycles, and transforms lives. If you've ever wondered why a father's voice matters or how to rise when that voice was missing, listen closely. Because what you're about to hear could change your destiny forever. There's something about the voice of a father. It doesn't just echo in the ear, it settles in the soul. When a father speaks, when he leans in close and says, "I'm proud of you," or "You've got what it takes," or even just, "I see you." Those words don't just touch the surface, they define the identity of a child. They shape the mind, build the heart, and solidify the backbone. A father's presence is more than physical, it is spiritual, it is foundational, it is transformational. When a father is present, not just in body but in spirit and voice, he builds more than a home, he builds a person. We live in a time where presence has been replaced with provision, where men think that if they pay the bills, they've done their job. But you can pay every bill and still leave your child bankrupt of affirmation. You can provide a roof and still fail to cover them in love. It takes more than bread to raise a child. It takes presence. It takes engagement. It takes words. Not just words of correction, but words of affirmation. Not just telling them what not to do, but declaring to them who they are. And let me tell you, when a father tells his daughter, "You are beautiful and worthy," she doesn't go looking for that in broken places. When a father tells his son, "You are strong and you have purpose," he walks into the world with his shoulders, that his spirit lifted. The father factor is not about perfection. It's about being present, about being intentional, about showing up with your heart, not just your hands. Because when a father shows up like that, something in the child stands up. Something in them starts to believe, starts to grow, starts to stretch beyond the limits of fear and doubt. But what happens when that voice is silent? What happens when the seat at the table is empty? There are too many who grew up waiting for a word that never came. Too many who learned how to be strong without ever being told they were enough. And yet, somehow, even in the absence, even in the ache, God was there, whispering identity into broken places, speaking purpose in the silent rooms of your childhood. Because while the voice of a father is powerful, the voice of the Father is unstoppable. He was there when your earthly father didn't show up. He was there when you longed for affirmation and got rejection instead. He was there when you questioned your worth, because no one ever told you what you were capable of. He was there. And he never stopped speaking. That's why you've got to know who you are, not based on what your father did or didn't say, but based on what God says. Because your identity isn't hanging in the balance of someone else's approval. You are not an accident. You are not invisible. You are not what they failed to say. You are who God says you are, chosen, called, anointed, and equipped. And maybe, just maybe, your pain is the platform God is using to speak through you now. Maybe He allowed you to feel what it was like to grow up without that voice so you could become that voice for someone else. Because the father factor doesn't stop with biology. It moves into mentorship. It flows into father and the fatherless. It extends into stepping in the gap for someone who's never heard, "You matter." There's a generation waiting, not just for preachers, not just for leaders, but for fathers. Men who will speak life. Men who will show up. Men who will love through presence and power. If you had a father who spoke life into you, thank God. And if you didn't, don't let the silence define you. Let it refine you. Let it fuel your purpose. Because now that you know what it feels like to go without, you've got a deeper sense of what's needed. You've got the ability to reverse the narrative, to stand in the gap, to pour out what you never received and be to someone else what you always longed for. Because your presence is more powerful than you know. Your words carry more weight than you realize. And when you step into the role God designed you for, not just as a man, but as a father, as a voice, as a covering. Lives will change. Destinies will shift. And generations will rise, not in insecurity, but in identity. All because you decided to speak when others stayed silent. There is a silence that screams louder than any shout. A silence left behind by the absence of a father. It's not just a missing person in a house. It's a missing piece in the heart. A void that echoes through every room of a child's life. That absence carries weight. It carries questions. It carries wounds that don't always show on the outside, but cut deep on the inside. The wound of a father's absence is not just about what was lost. It's about what was never spoken, never given, and never felt. It's the hunger for affirmation that never came, the longing for protection that never stood guard, the desire for guidance that was left unmet. That kind of absence leaves a mark. Too many grow up with that hole inside them, trying to fill it with anything they can find. Approval from the wrong people, attention in all the wrong places. Love that's conditional and fleeting. When a father isn't there, a child often feels unanswered, tossed by the waves of insecurity and self-doubt. They wonder, am I enough? Do I matter? Will someone ever stand for me? And sometimes that hole turns into a hunger that no amount of fame, money, or fleeting relationships can satisfy. The silence becomes deafening. But here's the truth. Pain has a way of pushing purpose into the light. What the enemy of destruction God can turn into a platform. The very thing that tried to break, you can become the fuel to make you stronger. The absence you experience can become the very thing that drives you to show up for others. The wound you carry doesn't have to define your destiny. It can refine it. You see, God specializes in filling gaps. He steps into the empty spaces where the world has failed. He becomes the father to the fatherless, the strength to the weak, the hope to the hopeless. When the earthly father is absent, the heavenly father moves in with a power that no absence can erase. He whispers to the broken heart, you are seen, you are loved, you are enough. And that whisper changes everything. But healing doesn't come overnight. It comes as you begin to understand that your worth is not tied to someone else's presence or absence. It comes as you learn to hear the voice of the Father above the noise of rejection. It comes as you embrace the truth that your value is inherent, given by God, not earned by performance or approval. When you start to grasp that, the silence loses its power over you. The wound starts to heal. And in that healing, there is a choice. You can let the absence break you, or you can let it make you. You can stay stuck in the pain, or you can use that pain to push forward, to rise higher, to break the cycle. Because the cycle doesn't have to continue with you. The wounds you carry don't have to be passed down to the next generation. You have the power to break that chain. You have the power to say, I will not allow my past to dictate my future. You have the power to say, I will be different. I will be present. I will be a voice where there was silence. And when you make that choice, when you decide to rise above your circumstances, you become a testimony. You become proof that the absence of a father is not the absence of a future. You become a beacon of hope for others still trapped in that silence. Remember, the silence may have been loud, but it was never final. God's voice is louder. His plans for you are greater than any wound. The absence you endured can become the very reason you shine brighter. Because when God moves in the empty places, He fills them with purpose, destiny, and unshakable hope. So don't let the silence define you. Let it refine you. Step out of the shadow of absence and into the light of your calling. Your story is not over. Your best chapters are still unwritten. And the Father who was missing in your life is ready to fill every empty place and lead into your destiny. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. If you grew up without a father's voice, without that steady hand guiding you, hear this, your story doesn't end there. The absence you experienced does not have to be your identity. It's tempting to think that because you didn't receive what you needed, you're destined to repeat the same cycle. But that is a lie. The truth is that you have the power to break the cycle, to change the narrative, and to write a new legacy. Because what you didn't get, you can still become. You see, breaking the cycle isn't about erasing the past. It's about rising above it. It's about taking the pain, the hurt, the emptiness you once felt, and transforming it into fuel for change. It's about looking into the mirror and deciding, I will not be defined by what I lacked. I will define myself by what I choose to give. And that choice is powerful. It's revolutionary. It takes courage to stand up and say, my children will not walk the same path in absence. My family will not carry the same wounds. The responsibility to break the cycle is heavy, but it's also a divine calling. Whether you are a father, a mother, a mentor, or simply someone who understands what it means to grow without guidance, you are called to be different, to be intentional, to be present. Because breaking the cycle isn't just about biology, it's about heart. It's about stepping into roles that were left empty. It's about being the voice when silence tried to speak louder. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. And it's not just about what you say. It's about what you do. Children don't just need to hear words. They need to see them lived out. They need to see consistency. They need to feel security. They need to experience love that is steady and sure. Breaking the cycle means choosing to be there on the hard days, the messy days, the days when no one else wants to show up. It means loving through failures and imperfections, because the legacy you build isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. But breaking the cycle also means forgiveness. It means letting go of the bitterness, the resentment, and the pain that can chain you to the past. Because holding on to those hurts only weighs you down. It steals your ability to be free. And freedom is what your children deserve. They deserve to grow up knowing love, not anger. They deserve to see strength, not weakness. They deserve a legacy of hope, not hurt. You might be wondering how you can do this when you never saw it modeled before. How can you be the father or the mentor when you never had one? The answer is that you don't have to do it alone. God equips the called. He fills the gaps. He gives strength to the weary. When you step up, He steps in. He makes a way where there seems to be no way. And with every step you take toward breaking the cycle, you're not just changing your life, you're changing generations to come. Imagine a family tree where the pain stops with you. Imagine your children growing up with a foundation stronger than fear and doubt. Imagine the legacy you can leave, not of absence, but of presence. Not of silence, but of encouragement. Not of wounds, but of healing. This is the power of breaking the cycle. This is the power you hold. It won't be easy. It will require sacrifice, patience, and faith. But nothing worth doing ever comes without a cost. And the reward is priceless. It's seeing your children stand tall with confidence. It's hearing their laughter fill a home that used to know only silence. It's knowing that your story was not just about surviving, but thriving. That your legacy was not just about what you inherited, but what you gave. So rise up, step into the role you were born to play. Break the cycle. Become the father, the mentor, the guide that you needed. Build a legacy of love, presence, and purpose. Because your life has the power to change the future. And the Father who called you will walk with you every step of the way. Don't let the past hold you captive. Break free. Become the answer. There is a Father beyond all fathers. When every human voice fades, when every earthly hand lets go, there is still a presence that never abandons, never fails, never leaves. This Father is God Himself, the ultimate Father factor. He is not simply a provider of needs or a distant observer. He is the one who steps in, takes the broken pieces, and restores what was lost. Where human fathers may have stumbled, faltered, or failed, God's fatherhood is perfect, unchanging, and eternal. When you look back at your life, at the places where a father's voice was missing, or where a father's love was absent, you can feel the sting, the ache of abandonment. But I want you to know that God sees every tear. hears every prayer, and understands every wound. He doesn't look at you as damaged or forgotten. He looks at you as chosen and precious. He calls you his child, not because of what you've done for him, but because of who he is. His love is unconditional, his acceptance complete. God doesn't just fill the void, he transforms it. He takes the pain you carry from fatherlessness and turns it into purpose. He teaches you how to love when love was never taught. He shows you how to lead when leadership was never modeled. He equips you to be the father, the mentor, the protector you never had. And in doing so, he makes you whole. This divine fatherhood isn't theoretical or distant. It's personal. It's intimate. It's daily. When you wake up in the morning and face your struggles, God is there whispering courage into your heart. When you feel a hand that reaches out to hold yours. When doubt tries to cloud your mind, his spirit reminds you of your true identity. He is not just a father in name, but a father in presence and power. And here is the beautiful truth. God's fatherhood sets the standard for all fatherhood. The way he loves, protects, and guides is the blueprint we are called to follow. He shows that fatherhood is not about perfection, but about faithfulness. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about loving, even when it's undeserved. It's about giving grace when grace seems impossible. You are not abandoned. You are not orphaned in the truest sense. The God of the universe calls you his own. He wraps you in his love and declares that you belong. No matter the wounds of your past, no matter the silence of earthly fathers, you have a father who will never leave you or forsake you. Because of this, you can walk with confidence. You can face your future without fear. You can step into your calling with assurance. You can become the answer to the prayers of those who came after you. The Father who has restored you will use you to restore others. The love you've received will flow through to heal broken lives. This is not just hope. It is a promise. A promise that no matter how deep the absence, God's presence is deeper. No matter how painful the past, his grace is greater. No matter how broken the story, he writes a new ending. You are not defined by what you didn't have, but by what you now have in him. So, rise up in the power of the ultimate Father. Let his love heal your wounds. Let his strength carry your burdens. And let his wisdom guide your steps. You were never alone. You were always chosen. And because of that, you will rise.